Hey everybody, it's Tyler Howell. I'm the owner and general manager at Whole Property Management Denver. Today we're just talking about some news maybe you saw about the federal government, or HUD, so the Housing and Urban Development Agency, rolling out new guidance on emotional support animals and service animals. And really, they rolled it back. So the question is, does that mean that you can start denying emotional support animals? Well, the answer is no, and I want to explain. This guidance was specifically aimed at emotional support animals, which had some directions, some guidance issued by HUD back in 2013 and 2020 that essentially stated that ESAs were to be treated really just like service animals. So a service animal would be an animal that's specifically trained to assist a person with a specific medical need or life need, like seeing eye dogs, stuff like that. And this guidance was, pushing people to, or stating that accommodations for ESAs should be treated exactly the same as service animals. Now, the new federal enforcement standard leans on the ADA's training requirement. So HUD will now require they'll only pursue a fair housing complaint if the animal is individually trained to do a task that's tied to a disability. And typically, ESAs are not trained to do anything, right? They're just emotional support for somebody who has anxiety or something like that. So under the new posture, an untrained ESA aren't automatically treated as an animal that must be accommodated. What do we mean by accommodated? Well, that means that you have a rental property that you've listed as no pets. Well, you have to make an accommodation to allow the ESA or the service animal, because it's really not considered a pet, it's considered a medical device. So under this new guidance, an untrained ESA, which they're all untrained, they're not automatically treated as something that has to be accommodated. But that's at the federal enforcement level. So it changes how one federal agency kind of prioritizes enforcement, but it doesn't repeal any of the Fair Housing Act. So a court isn't bound by HUD's guidance or enforcement postures. Tenants can still sue you in court over an ESA denial, because you're not really, don't expect that to get to a federal circuit court. And also keep in mind that many states have their own fair housing. I'd say most states have their own fair housing rules, guidance, their own assistance animal statutes, ESA guidance that's completely separate from HUD guidance, and those haven't changed. So the bottom line for you as a landlord is, don't change how you handle ESA requests or service animal requests based on this news, right? You got to know your state's law first and understand that federal guidance is not necessarily going to change how a state judge views that. So my guidance to you is to know what your state says, understand that in almost all cases, an emotional support animal or a service animal has to be accommodated if they have supporting documentation. So a letter from a medical provider, therapist that says that they have a need for that. As long as they have that, you need to approve it. Doesn't matter if your property is, quote, no pets, because again, an ESA or service animal is not a pet. It's a medical device. If you have any other questions, just give us a call here at Whole PM Denver at 720-737-1373.